and welcome everyone to the chat room. I'm your host, MsChloeChantel, and yes, I have a very good show planned for you guys tonight. If you're tuning in, then you know this is the very first show of the chat room, and it's also my birthday. Dreaming on this project for a very long time, guys. It's been my dream to always do radio, so I'm so happy to be sharing this journey with you. The chat room, it's gonna be all about fun. Seriously, just fun. Most days you're gonna laugh with me. We might cry together. You might get mad at the stuff that I say, but hey, I really don't care. But most and everything, you're just gonna be entertained. Period. Now, what we talk about on the show is completely random. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to ask you guys to send me some topics, some discussions. I'm going to put them all in a hat, and whatever I draw for the week, that's what's going to be discussed. And for the first couple of shows, I let my mom choose. So for this week, for tonight, we are talking how much should your friends know about your relationship. And I have 3 of my very, very, very good friends in the studio with me. And these weren't picked on random. These friends were picked on a purpose. I have my friend Jared Knowles in the building. My friend Branson Braid in the building. And my girl, Miss Maya Moore.
A.K.A. M. Boogie. A.K.A. Maya the Bee's Knees. Okay?
Whatever you want to be, Maya. It's your world. We just live in it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, each of these 3 people were picked very strategically. First, Branson is married. Yes. And a very good perspective here. Jared is single, but the reason why I picked Jared is because he's always in and out of relationships, but he's a good guy.
That's false.
So, it's false?
It is.
Well, your commentary is needed. And then there's Maya. Maya, she's my single friend with me, you know. But I know she'll give good insight to this.
I'm perpetually single.
Especially.
That way I can observe other couples and other,
Especially being single.
Thanks, Maya. Maya. Well, first, I want to start off with Branson. Branson, tell us a little bit about your marriage, your relationship.
I've been married for the past 6 months. I've been married for the past 7 months. Because my wife is 6 months pregnant. As you can tell.
Congrats!
Thank you. As you can tell, life moves very fast. But I got married in January, and a lot of decisions are made very quickly. Mm-hmm. We decided whether or not we want to live in a house or an apartment. My wife is in nursing school, so I'm the one taking care of everything in the house. So there's a lot of decisions to be made very quickly that can sway how a relationship is going to go.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot of your money, my money. How does this work? How are we going to work as a couple, as a unit, rather than just a paired couple? We're no longer dating. It's no longer how do you feel? How do I feel? It's how are we going to work through this together? And it was, 7 months in, it's not been easy, but it's been a lot better than I guess you see today in mainstream. You think things are going to be very difficult, but if you have a partner that's willing to work with you, it's a big difference. So
I like that.
Do you think it's going to be difficult? I think marriage is going to be butterflies and
it's portrayed
is that how
way.
men feel, I guess?
Oh, you're
no. There are butterflies. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of butterflies. But one thing my mother-in-law always said throughout our entire dating period was, oh, y'all are still in the honeymoon phase. Yeah. And you're going to hear that from a lot of people. But the honeymoon phase is really as long as you make it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still in the honeymoon phase, and we've been dating 4 years. Well, I've known her for 4 years. And she told us that 2 years in, we were going to get past that, and I felt butterflies up until the day of my marriage, and I still do now. So it's kind of like it's whatever cute. Work you put into it.
Right.
Now, it's cute, but there are issues. There are issues along the way, but those are inevitable. Mm-hmm. It's how you deal with those that really decide how long that honeymoon phase is.
Well, let me ask you this.
Surprise.
Let me ask you this. When you and your now wife were dating, how much did your friends know about the ins and outs of your relationship? Did your friends know?
So I think ins and outs has to have a very specific definition, because when you say ins and out to me, I think very fine details which no one needs to know.
Okay.
For me, that's very specific. My own mother and father don't need to know the ins and outs of my relationship.
Agree.
And that's for, I mean, they need to know details of how you are doing, simply because of who they are and their significance in your life. But when you talk about if you have an issue, does your mom know the issue? She can know of it. She's going to know that your disposition around her has changed. But I think it's personal. You decide how much that person really needs to know. Because I've seen it where, I've told my mom a little bit and she's good. But then I hear from other people, I went and had the discussion with my mom, and that was the biggest mistake I made.
Yeah, I've done that.
Because at that point, my mother was seeing her in a different light than she needed to.
So that's where I'm like, how do you feel about like that mentorship? I hang around a lot of older people.
But when you say mentorship, Jared, do you mean mentorship from parents or mentorship from friends?
From whoever you deem, like whoever you want to place that responsibility on, or who's ever willing to take it, or you like accept as that role, because that's vital. Like I feel, I hang out around a lot of old guys, and that's one thing that they told me about. They're like, look, man, we struggle as older guys with marriage, children, finances. And sometimes we can't hold all that in. Like, there's a breaking point. You need to talk to someone, whether it be your pastor, your best friend, or your mom or dad. So it's like, you need to seek some sort of counsel outside of just like, it's personal, I ain't telling nobody. Because then you may have the wrong perspective of your own and make a bad decision. So I think having like a mentorship, like my parents have been married for 28 years. I grew up in that house, so of course there's some things that like there's a bias to, because they're gonna be biased to me when it comes to my wife or whatever it may be. So I may seek help outside of my mom and dad, or I may actually tell my dad, because I respect his decision, I respect his like advice, and I've seen how his relationship is. So I feel like
but aren't you always, I know, because I'm big too, my mom is like my best friend, so I tell her just about everything. But after I tell her, it's just kind of like, should I relate that information? Just because when you're involved with someone, and then let's say it was something bad, and then like you happen to go back to that person, and now your mom's looking at you with this like, I told you so, or that, why'd you get, like, when does it become too much? And I guess the question is, what is too much to tell parents, friends? When do you cross the line, just kind of say, I'm going to just talk to God about this and chunk up this one?
One, I think you should always talk to God about it first.
Agree.
Two, and it's just like, I know friends who come from broken homes who don't have any trust in their parents, but trust an aunt or trust an uncle, or it could just be a counselor at a school. But whoever you place in that spot, I think you should be telling somebody not all your business and all your problems, but I think you just know, like you said, you picked us all for specific reasons. You gotta build a team. Like Jesus built a team, and your team may be different. You know, they have different roles. Like I got friends who like, hey, like this friend is great when it comes to talking about this business, but terrible when it comes to relationships. Or I have like, hey, I like his business mind, but hey, he a slut. I ain't trying to be a slut. Like I have one of my best friends. He tells me like, hey, you can't take advice from me with girls, because me and you have different.
Agree.
We have different perspectives. Like, things that I may give you for advice, it's gonna kill the relationship you're in, because you deal with different women.
I'm glad he's honest with you.
Respect that.
Yeah.
I think that's a genuine friend to tell you that. Like, hey, look, I ain't the person you should be coming to with that.
Right.
I think within there though, it's a difference in mindset when you're married and single. And I say that because I've seen it change very, very quickly for me. I think when you're single or when you just start a relationship, there are not enough people around you that tell you that when you get married, that other person in that relationship needs to be who you seek for help. So when you're young and you're in a relationship, you have an issue with that person, you find an outlet. You try and find somebody else that maybe doesn't have a bias, or somebody that you think can help you. When in reality, if it's something very, very small, which you will look back and realize how small it really is, you should have dealt with that individual.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we look for that other person. I can say myself, when my wife and I started dating, my sister is 1.5 years younger than me. and my sister is my best friend.
Shout out, Alicia.
But I told my wife, or then girlfriend at the time, straight up, I was like, I tell my sister everything, and I'm going to have to work with not telling her something.
Yeah.
Because my sister was the person that if you did something wrong, I was going back, and while we were brushing our teeth, I was going, it was going to be said, and I was going to laugh at it. That was my confidant. Yeah. I mean, she was my vault across the hall. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Mm-hmm. But as time went on, me and my sister, we did have a small rift, but it was because we recognized she could no longer be the individual that I went to for something.
Right.
Even I'd start talking about something going on, and I'm like, I shouldn't discuss this with you. And she'd be okay with it, but it was a changing of the guards of sorts. Mm-hmm. And I think as young individuals, we have to learn how to communicate with people that we see on a daily basis like that differently because of the generation that we grew up in. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times we're so used to, hey, I've talked to them lately. Have you talked to them lately? Yeah, I hit them up on Twitter like 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen them since I graduated from high school.
Right.
So when you have somebody that all of a sudden is in your space every day, you think you need an outlet. I can't talk to you about everything. If it's an issue, we can't deal with this in this one circle. I need to get outside of the circle so I can see clearly. You can see clearly in the circle. You have all the facts.
Right.
I mean, you take all the facts and you go elsewhere. So, of course, you still need people on the outside.
I think
a part of it.
Too.
Yeah.
The internet has allowed us to reach out and have little different ways to vent.
But see, I think the problem with us being so young, and I'm speaking for myself here, I know I like to always turn to many different friends for many different advice.
That's your team.
And as it's my team, but sometimes I feel like sometimes you kind of need to take a step back and just realize I should have just talked to one person, because when you get so many different rules, advice. Exactly. You have too many people in your business. And I know, Maya, we're girls. And I know girls are prone to talk more about their relationship to each other than guys are. Guys, you guys kind of keep it in. You don't tell too much. Girl talk is girl talk. We spill the beans when we're all together having drinks, or we're all sitting together at the house. Maya, what are your thoughts on it? What do you...
Well, honestly, when y'all be coming to me about stuff...
Maybe Maya was the best choice for this conversation.
No, but honestly, real talk. The theme of my advice is always like, you know what to do. You already know. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or like, most of the time I'm just letting y'all talk, because the more you talk, you find the answer yourself. That's pretty much all people want to do. They just want somebody to listen to them. Mm. And most of the time I'm just like, we be talking in circles because we basically thinking out loud. And it's like, you really already... especially that intuition, like you already really know what's up.
You're just bouncing some ideas.
You're just bouncing ideas off the wall.
So that's the thing. Should we as individuals, when we're in a relationship or we're dealing with a relationship and we have like a little hump in the road, should we talk to ourselves for a day, figure it out before we run to our friends?
So you say hump in the road. It's a little hump in the road. It's not a mountain. I think for mountains, a lot of times mountains, we need to find somebody else to knock those ideas off of. But I think when there's a hump in the road, my point is something out. We're just talking out loud. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times when we go to our team, we really go to hear the situation in our head be spoken out from somebody else.
Right.
If you think somebody is cheating or they have the possibility, you have the scenarios for how they did it, for where that time could have gone. And in your head, you just need one other person to validate that that's a possibility.
Yeah. But that one other person...
It is in the realm of existence that could have happened.
Basically make it seem like, I know I sound stupid right now. Let me see if I...
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm saying that one other person should be you. That's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, when anything happens, and that's one thing I've learned as I've gotten older, I sleep on it. Like, I deal with it for a few days just by myself before I take it to my mama or anybody else.
I need to learn that, because I'm horrible with that.
And it's hard, but I feel like it helps a lot.
You got something to say, Jay?
Yeah, I think the problem that you run into as well is that, like, whenever you're having these girl talks, or even let y'all be known, like, guys do the same thing.
Really? Yeah, it's funny because I have a lot of guys who say, like, no, I don't talk about you to my friends, or I don't talk about stuff to my friends. Like, I keep it to myself. That's a lie. All right, fellas. I want the fellas who are listening to know that that's a lie. I know you guys talk.
Now the depth of that conversation may be different.
The depth is very that is a very wide.
What's the difference? Tell me the difference, though.
Like, you say, do you talk to me about your friends? the lie could just be like, that's a lie when he says no. But he may be saying that because he's thinking that you're like, do you talk about me with like what we're doing in intimacy, or what are we doing this, like that? And he might not want you to know how far in depth that he's talking to his friends about you. Because this is what women do. I say, yeah, man, Branson, he know all my business. If I'm involved with Chloe, you know what Chloe's going to do? Chloe, she's going to talk to Maya. Maya, talk to Branson and see what he said about this. You're going to go around the way to get to my confidant and see if you can break that loyalty. And so, but that's just a defense mechanism for guys who, we're human. We need to vent. We need to have somebody to talk to. Like, the way we do it may different. Like, y'all do it over wine and popcorn, like Olivia or something like that. Olivia Pope. Some guys, we may go to a bar and have some scotch, have some whiskey, have a cigar, kick our feet up and watch some sports, and then somebody say, man, let me tell you about, and then that's just how we,
I do it sober. So
that's probably the best way to do it.
Me and my two best, I told my wife from day one, she's known my two best men before I even met her. So I told her from day one, I was like, those are my boys. Before we even started dating, I asked them for the 411 on you. So I need you to know we speak about you. Not in depth, not in any sexual matter at all, but I need you to know your name is mentioned.
Okay.
And from the jump, it was understood, you're not going to say too much. You understand that what needs to be spoken between us two stays between us two. But they know that she is there. It's not like two different circles.
That's how you develop trust.
Okay, let me play out a situation because I really want to know the difference between what guys tell their friends, like how much a guy tells their friends between a girl. Because I'm a firm believer that we all speak to our friends about relationships, but I do think girls tell a little bit too much more than what guys should.
Before you start, I do want to go back to like when we talk about these teams, because I think it's important that like whenever you throw something out about a bump, like he said earlier, you're changing the perspective
of that
your
person.
significant other to people who like, that means you're tearing down their guard that they may have with the public, that they've opened up to you. Now you're tarnishing their image or their reputation they may have, which it could still be intact as them as like a human. Like they haven't changed that much, but now you're exposing so many things, their flaws and all these things that they trusted you with. You're destroying the relationship they may have with someone else.
You know what's funny? I was with my cousin the other day, and she was talking to her friend. She was like, and she told her straight up, because the girl was about to start venting about her fiance, and she was like, look, I love you, but tell me what you want me to know, because I can't help it. I'm going to start feeling a certain type of way about him if you keep bringing me all this bad news. And I felt that way about a lot of my friends in the past, and I'm just like, you want to get all mad because that's your girl, and it's just like, but after a while, it's just like, I don't really know what's going on in your relationship, so that's y'all too. I'm not going to try to get into that, but you have to be aware of what you're telling your friends, especially if you know you're going to go back to this nigga, after he done X, Y, and Z, and you done told me about it, and now you looking crazy. You looking crazy.
And that's the other part of it too, is that like, say for instance, I go and spill it to 5 people, and I take the advice of 1. The other 4 are going to look at like, well, you're not taking my advice. Why do I tell you anyway?
Right.
So if I know, hey, Branson's got a wife, and I like how he handles his woman. I like how, I don't want to say handle, but I like the way that
nothing's wrong with the word handle.
Okay, well, I like the way that you and your wife are in a relationship.
That's a topic for another day. Another day.
I like the way he deals with his wife. I like the way he handles their business. So maybe I go to him for like that advice.
Yeah.
So if I don't take the advice that he says, like he deems himself to be like a credit for, something that he's like, hey, I'm good in this field. Like I'm married, I feel like I've done this much, I failed, I'm trialed, I'm tested.
Going to somebody that has wisdom specifically in that area. Like,
and
you talking to me as a single girl does not make sense. And I'm never going to hate or pull you down, but what can I do for you? We're in 2 different situations. We have 2 different. I have an objective opinion, but at the same time, I feel like the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
I'm talking to somebody who's been married for decades or plus.
Corinne Bailey Ray, she has a song that says, like, what is it? Till it happens to you. And it's talking about love.
Yeah. Right.
Like, you don't really know what that's like until it happens to you.
But see, Branson, you're young and married. I'm pretty sure you don't have as many married friends as you want in your life. So, you do?
I don't know about want. I don't really.
You don't want married friends?
Yeah.
But see, that's what I mean. Who do you, if something happens, who do you run to? Like, who do you talk to?
So I'm gonna be 100% real with you. For me, it goes back to the last point. The having people around you with having people around you with wisdom, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of, I don't know, understanding that you don't always have to go somewhere for that advice.
Right.
So we got engaged in February and didn't get married till January. So the rest of 2014 for me was a year filled with married, divorced, single people, all giving me advice on marriage. It didn't matter who they were. I was getting advice from every way, shape, or form. People at church, people at work. It didn't matter. People have been my parents have been married for 35 plus years, and I had the fewest conversations with them. It was in depth. The conversations I had were very deep and in depth, but I had the fewest with them. I had so many random people telling me about things that eventually the spark will go out, this, that, and the other, and then but then you get the good advice. No matter how hard you work, it's always going to be worth it. And one thing, I have a very short fuse when it comes to people that I don't want to talk to.
Yeah,
that's why I'm on social media, but if I don't want to talk to you, I'm not going to. You can't force me to.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
And people don't understand that. But when I'm in person, if I don't want to talk to you, I'm gonna get edgy real quick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you know I'm ready to leave now. So I had to learn, you can listen to everything somebody has to say, but you don't have to take it.
Right. You don't have to take it.
So when you have a lot of advice forced on you, it's really easy to understand why you shouldn't go other places for it.
Yeah.
You go specific places, maybe your parents, because you understand what you're trying to find, the little piece of information that you need, and you can let them know ahead of time. That's all I need in the situation. I'm not trying to tell you too much, but this is what it is. I still go to my sister for advice and help, because she can still help me in some facets. It's not that your relationship has to be closed off. It's that you have to understand how much information you want from the outside for yourself.
Chew the meat, spit the bone. Take what you want.
Take what you want. That's really
don't want
it.
the bone. You throw away the bone. Like, I don't need that.
Some people eat the bone.
Well, let's flip it.
And some people eat it like leaving up.
Too literal.
Let's flip it. Just because I know I'm one that can run to friends for advice, but at the same time, I'm the person that a lot of friends run to for advice. I'm gonna be completely honest. I am the friend that's going to make you feel better no matter what, which means I'm probably going to tell you what you want to hear, because I just do not want to see. I'm going to be completely honest. I am that friend. I don't want to see. I take pride in it. I don't want to see you sad. I don't want to see you hurt. So I'm going to tell you everything that you want to hear, whether it's right or wrong. I am going to take that torch. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm probably one in a couple of people who are like this. But what is it? When a friend comes to you with that sort of issue, what do you do? When a friend's coming to you, Maya already said that she's the one that's just going to be the ear to listen to. But guys,
I'm going to be the one to tell you he's just not that into you. That's the friend I'm going to be.
Okay.
Because I want you to stop wasting time. And no, it's not going to be that. Honestly, the way I do it is if I don't come out and say it, I'll just ask questions so you can start thinking deeper. You know what I'm saying? And like let's just lay it all out. Let's not try to add nothing to the situation. Let's not try to make it dreamy. What are the facts? You know what I'm saying? And does this really add up for you? I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to let you answer it. You know?
Is it wrong being the friend that lets you know, tells you what you want to hear?
It's kind of like, Joel Osteen and your real Southern versus your real Southern Baptist preacher. Like Joel, he's nice.
He's a good message preacher.
Yeah,
I get that.
You can get a nice little gift out of his messages, but you know you need a little more than that.
Sometimes you need the ugly.
Yeah, exactly. Your toes stepped on a little bit.
Fellas, what do you think?
I think that's true. Like, we can go to Branson first. We'll just go down the line.
I think it
like, what
it
person
depends.
Are you and your friends?
I think no matter what person you are, it always depends on your censor. It depends on how much. Some people don't know how much is too much. Some people don't know that the spouse that you see is not the spouse that I have. So you need to watch how much you give me.
Right.
Because there's some people that think your man will never live up to anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say on the record without even putting anybody's name out that I know there are people that for the 3 years that we were dating, they didn't think I was the one for her. And I'm sitting here like, I have my parents are elated. Like, this is the woman. You brought the woman home.
Right.
But then there's the other side of the spectrum that will never understand that. Mm-hmm. So that my wife always says something. She doesn't want people touching her stomach because you never know what people are preying on you. Right. Not everyone wants the best for you.
Yeah.
And that's simply the truth. Mm-hmm. And when I found out that there were people that I knew personally that didn't think that I was the right one for her, that knew me, mm-hmm. it made me realize that your view of people is not their same view of you. Mm-hmm. So that's why you pick and choose the people that you want that advice from, very, very specifically. There's a reason that us four are in this room. Yeah. Because you have a different lens than I may have of my own self. Mm-hmm. I don't know Jared as well as you do. So there's a reason that you brought him into this room. Mm-hmm. So for the same reason, you don't want everybody else's advice. Mm-hmm. And that goes for your people close to you. I have family members that I wouldn't go to for marital advice for my own personal reasons. Mm-hmm. I see their life in a different lens, which may be incorrect, but I know maybe it ain't. It's not what I want. It is not what I want. It may not be correct, but it can. You're entitled to your own opinion. Right. So when somebody's like, "Oh, you don't like them," nothing's wrong with that. Right. Nothing's wrong with not liking somebody. Nothing's wrong with not wanting their point of view either. Mm-hmm. So,
I guess it just always gets complicated just when, you know, you talk to a friend or a family member about somebody and you don't mean to pick that person out and make them seem like they're a horrible person because of the situation that you guys are going through. You just genuinely want some like sound, you know, am I being stupid or am I missing something? Just genuinely sound advice, you know? And so I always get confused on how much should I tell you? Should I go into details so I won't sound stupid, you know, so I can give you enough to make it seem like I'm not sounding stupid or he's that bad or she's that bad, you know? I always battle with that. So it's good to just try to figure out, you know, what's too much, what's too little. I'm going to break scenario, hypothetical. Let's say you're dating someone, and you guys, okay, let's say you're dating someone and that person, you're dating someone for about 6 to 9 months. And that person says, you know what, I'm just not ready for a relationship. Great person, you know, but he or she just came to the conclusion, I'm not ready. I don't want to do this anymore. So you go and you tell your friends, you know, the friends know that the person is great, he's good, but they're just not ready for a relationship. How much do you go into detail? I want to hear from a guy's perspective and a girl's perspective. Guys, how much would you go into details about this girl that you dated for 6 to 9 months? Perfect girl, great girl, she's not ready in a relationship. What do you tell your friends? Do you just tell your friends, yeah, we stopped talking because she's not ready? Or do you really kind of like cry on their shoulder and be like, dang, I thought she was the one. You know, she did this, she did that. Yeah, we fought about this. Yeah, we fought about that. But, you know, how much do you tell? Enough to keep you safe to say, if I go back to her, you won't judge her. You won't look at her differently.
Well, for one, I wouldn't care. 2, that's like very familiar because I just broke up with a girl. We just had a breakup, you know, like you said, like a year ago. And we were long distance. And, of course, like, people who are around me in my circle would ask, like, hey, like, what happened? Or, like, what's going on? And then to this day, it's still the same thing. Like, you know, it's dry. Like, I'll give you, like, a bland answer, like, you know, distance and, like, this and that. And then to my closest friends, maybe we'll go into a little more detail. But at the end of the day, she's still a good girl. Like, I still wish the best for her. I still would pray for her. Still do pray for her. And, like, she's in a new relationship now. I hope that's her husband. Like, just out of knowing her, like, I hope that's her husband. I don't have anything bad to say about the girl that I was just in a relationship with. Because I really know that person. Mm-hmm. I was with that person, like you said, it was pretty serious. So, like, I know her heart. Mm-hmm. And so, regardless if we didn't work out, like, so what? Like, God is.
So, the answer that you would mainly give to your friends is, we tried, it didn't work.
Pretty much. Like, that's pretty much how it is. And then the rest of it is because I guess me being single for, like, the next year or so, it's a lot of time for self-reflection. So when they ask me about her, I end up telling them something about me. Like, you know, it didn't work. Like, I was this, I was that. Or if I say, like, you know, this may have been, like, an issue with me with her, I'm going to counter that and give you 2 things that was wrong with me and why I couldn't handle it, or, like, my flaw. Because that's just what I've been dealing with for the past year and a half. Like, I've just had a good time to, like, have self-actualization. Like, really reflect at myself and say, look, this is who I am. Like, this isn't, I'm not about her anymore. So if you ask me about, like, my ex, I can only tell you about me.
That's beautiful. Branson, what about you? Let's take it to an ex. Let's not even talk about wifey. Let's go to an ex-girlfriend. You know, have you ever had a bad breakup to where you went to a friend and
You
just...
still know your exes?
Why wouldn't he?
So...
That's an interesting question, because I know a lot of my married friends who legit will not talk about their exes.
Really?
So
they feel like it's irrelevant. Like, they're just like, for what, bro? I don't know her anymore.
So that is a very, very different point of view than I have.
It's a little cultish, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't say that. That's pretty cold hearted. I will say that, because since high school, I learned very young that if I was going to date, I had to date one with friendship as a priority, as well as dating for marriage. Dating for marriage had to be, if marriage was not a part of that scenario, then it was meaningless. Now that's not to say I didn't have the acquaintances and the friends that were outside. I wasn't in a relationship with, that I talked to for a while, but then realized no, it wouldn't work out.
I take that back. I've been like that. That's why I say I haven't been in a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
I've been involved. But my relationships, I would deem them that, like, it was actually going somewhere.
But I will say I did have a lot of relationships. In high school, I had a lot of relationships. Not a lot in the sense that it was like 2-3 months. I had a lot of serious relationships that I can say I learned something throughout the duration of that entire relationship. So if somebody comes to me and asks, I guess what happened, I learned over time it has to do with how that ending conversation happens. So let's say that you make the point of, you broke up, it just wasn't going to work. Yeah. We're going to put it inside of a vacuum. That happened, nobody cheated, nothing. It was on good terms. You end on good terms.
That's what you tell your friends.
No. I'm saying there are a number of different things. So I can say this because my wife knows this entire history. But I used to date a girl that we broke up strictly because of religion. I knew my future with marriage, it was not going to work. I simply knew that. She was a good girl. I knew her, even loved her. Told my wife this, so it's not a secret for me. But at the same time, I knew that road to marriage was no longer a viable road. Right. So when somebody asked me, I don't have to hide that. I'm not tarnishing her name. We're still friends. It's not like I call her up and say what's up. I don't do that out of respect for my wife. But at the same time, we ended on good terms. And that's where I think the position of always being friends helps you be okay with not speaking to that person, because you know you're on good terms with them. But at the same time, you can speak of them to others without it being...
And still give them a lot of good credibility.
Yeah. Right. So you still have to censor how much you give somebody. Yeah. I still don't tell people the full extent. I think there are individuals that I have to testify to because they may be going through the same issue. But at the same time, there's a limit to how much you give of somebody else.
Did you get the testimony with that one, Jay?
Well, I was going to say that's the next part of, like, the question, because I believe in being... I don't want to say necessarily I believe in it, but I'm as a personal experience with myself, as just what I've learned is I'm transparent. I'm very transparent when it comes to certain things, and when you ask me about my ex, I'm not so transparent with some people. But like you said, like, sometimes God calls us to have these moments where we have to testify. And the one time that I did give someone, like, full out everything, I was actually at a church camp, and this chick was going through, like, this tragic breakup, like, crying, and she was out here being called to be a leader. So, like, you can't lead and be crying. You know what I'm saying? So you really have, but I can't. I mean, everyone handles things differently. That's why I really don't think.
So that's when you probably explained to her, exactly what you went through in detail.
I had to. I didn't have to, but I did. Like, I chose at that moment. I could give her more and grow her. And that became like a friend for that, or associate for that time, to where she was leaning on me for advice.
Yeah.
And like, of course, I would tell her like, hey, you gotta talk to God about this, talk to God about that. But at a time of that transparent, like, I use that to be completely transparent to let her know like my testimony as far as like what I went through, and like I wasn't completely out of it, I'd say, but the steps to getting out of a situation to where you feel broken or where you feel like left or like she was cheated on and stuff like that, especially when she was comfortable. They had been together for 4 or 5 years.
Right. And you bring up a good point. I remember me and you talked about this a couple of years ago, Maya. Me, you, and Crystal, how you guys said, or maybe it was Crystal who said it, that you go through something, because Maya's giving me this stupid look on her face. Basically, Crystal had said you go through stuff so your friends or anyone, you know, close to you doesn't have to. And that kind of brings me... That wasn't Crystal, that was you? Okay, Maya said it sounds like her. Okay, point being, I remember one of them saying, you go through stuff so your friends don't have to. And I think that's a good point, too, when you're talking about your relationships to your friends, especially when your friend is going through stuff, to let them know that you're not alone in this. Like, I went through something like this and I got over it, so you'll be okay.
You got to be careful with that, though.
Why do you say that?
Because not everybody's ready. Not everybody's ready to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And so sometimes
whenever you speak ahead,
when you speak ahead and they don't receive it, that's falling on.
So what do you tell the friend then that's crying to you and you've been through that same situation? What do you do?
Tell them to go to God. Like,
and I mean, I think like Branson and Jared, they're clearly very self-aware. They're very confident in themselves. So I feel like when you're mature, when you've reached a certain amount of maturity as they have, you can be you can know when to be transparent, and you can know when to hold back. But at any point, you're always still being honest and genuine, because you probably came to this conclusion within yourself or with God, and you're confident in this conclusion. So it doesn't matter who hears or who knows. Am I right? Like, whether you're transparent or whether you're holding back a little bit, it all comes with growth, I feel. And like I said, honestly, I'm going to keep repeating myself, because that growth comes with knowing yourself. Right. And, you know, just kind of being able to put in perspective the experiences that you've had and how they've come to help you or help that person that you were involved with, or just whatever it may be. So I think some people, they get in cycles of bad relationships because they haven't learned that lesson. And once you learn it, I feel like, I don't know, I think a lot of things change to where you don't have to go outside or go to a bunch of people to get advice.
Gotcha.
Well, I think Maya harped on the point of knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Within that, it's really, there's a lot of understanding that you're different than anyone else.
Right.
A lot of people don't get that. They go for advice and they take advice from people and they try and apply it to their specific situation.
But it's not them.
When it's not them.
It's not your personality. It's not what you would do.
It's not what you would do.
Yeah.
A lot of people, if you think about putting an earpiece in your ear and trying to speak somebody else's words, it just won't work for your situation. So a lot of times we go to other people and get this advice when in fact they have no idea what has happened for the past 2 years of your relationship. So they're judging on knowing this person for maybe 3 months pretty well after y'all have gone out a couple of times, and they don't read the text messages that you shared throughout the day.
Probably seen this person one or twice,
honestly,
you know.
And that's why, honestly, sometimes it makes me uncomfortable when people come to me about relationship advice, and I'm just like, there's no way. I don't know the whole... I don't like to talk on stuff without knowing a big picture, but I know I'm never going to know this specific couple's big picture, so it just feels very out of place for me to try to step in and hop out with my advice. Like, that just doesn't seem realistic to me, because I understand that people have dimensions and they have, you know, intricacies. Like, it's not just this happened, now tell me what you think. I don't know you or this dude.
I really learned that from my dad, because I learned really fast that nobody else's relationship will ever be mine.
Yeah.
And
my parents.
Sorry, go ahead.
My parents' 35 plus year marriage will never be my 6-month marriage. Yeah. Never. They can never give me the advice that I can get directly through a situation and talk me straight through it. They can never do it. So, like, when I talk with my dad is very vague. Very, very vague. He gives very good advice. He's very broad in a sense that he can guide you where you may need to get, but you're the only one that can take that path. He gives me everything with a grain of salt. Hey, this is me and your mother, but this is what worked for us. So in your relationship, you may have to find out what avenue.
And see, I like that term of advice. Like this is what I did when I was in this. Now you're gonna have to find it yourself, but hey, this could be an option. But I wouldn't suggest you, because you got to learn for yourself. That's a good point.
That's how I feel. I mean, I personally don't limit myself. I wouldn't limit myself when it comes to how I deal with relationships. And I know that one way I can be black, one day I can be white, one day I can be purple. So I wouldn't expect nothing less from the next person. Like today I might be somebody that wants to get married. Tomorrow I might be somebody that, hey, we just gonna shack up for the rest of our life. And like, but I mean, I don't know. That's just how I am. So I wouldn't expect.
But if that's what you
less
want,
from
that's
other
what you
person.
want.
Exactly.
And nobody
I
else
don't
should
need
tell you.
And I'm not gonna come to you for advice, because if I've made up my mind to do that, I came to that conclusion on my own. So I don't need you to tell me what I should do anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let's have a little fun. I did a little research, and according to Glamour.com, in an article they published in 2013, they came up with some things that your friends should never know about your relationship. We're going to agree to disagree. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So, the first one says, anything your partner doesn't know, your friend shouldn't know. How do you guys feel about that?
In regards to
No.
Wait.
They're basically saying that anything that your partner doesn't know about you, or I guess the relationship or whatever, that your friend shouldn't know.
First of all, can we establish what kind of relationship this is?
We'll say this is
your
somebody,
dude? Is this your
significant other.
husband?
This is your significant other.
Someone
So this is
you're
a
committed to.
boyfriend. This is a
Come on now,
serious.
this is levels.
This
So
is
wait.
a serious relationship.
The question is, if you're committed to somebody, they should know anything that your friend should know?
Your friend shouldn't know anything that they don't know. I think we just said the same thing.
Yeah. Anything your partner doesn't know, your friend should know. So if you have a birthmark on your butt and your partner don't know about it, your friend shouldn't know about it. And I'm pretty sure they're talking about,
like, if your friend know you got crabs and your partner don't know you got
maybe they're whatever.
All right, look, I'll say this.
That's a problem.
That's a little interesting.
Maya.
There might be some friends that know more than what
Your partner knows. I totally agree.
But I will say this, like in the case of Branson, because I've met guys who've been married for 35 years, and he says, man, I didn't know my wife until 5 years. And he said, then I didn't really know her until 10. He said, and after 15, I felt like, I was just really starting to figure her out.
And that's very true.
And
That's so real.
And so with that, it's like, not saying that we're going to have every conversation that needs to be done in the first 2 years. So I might have a friend who they might know something about me that happened in middle school, or, some of that. And they've been rocking me forever. Like, y'all know Ace. I've been knowing Ace since I was a kid. So if he knows something that my partner don't know that's like crazy, and I just completely forgot about it, and it comes up, it's kind of like, all right, we can have this talk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not I wouldn't hide anything from
You're
my
not.
partner on
Thank
purpose.
you.
But
And I think
there may be some things that my friends know that.
Right, and I think that's what it is to me, or to all of us. It's just sometimes your partner is not going to know your past or stuff that you did, and it's not like you purposely tried to keep it from. It's just like, I didn't. Yeah. It wasn't meant to talk about. But if you want to talk about it,
like more intimate subjects, more like
Well, see, okay. Well, look,
experiences.
This brings us to the next one that Glamour.com said. They said the next thing that your friend shouldn't know is the ins and outs of your sex life. Agree or disagree?
Agree. I don't need you clocking my money. I don't need you clocking my sex life. Why I'm gonna advertise my dude to you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to me, that's just intimate. It's personal. Like, it's sacred. I don't need you in that, like, at all.
Fellas, what do you think? I know you guys sometimes get those girls, and sometimes you got to run back to the fellas and be like, bruh, this one's
But that's all that. I've done that. But that's no. But when I say I've done that, I mean that is all that's been said, bruh. Like, my roommate from college. Shout out to Antoine. He is an Omega. So I just say that and leave it there. But at the same time, we players at the same time. I'm Alpha. He's an Omega. And we had a very, very clear cut. We don't talk about that kind of stuff.
Right.
We understood that we may not have been living lives that we should have at the moment. But at the same time, women are not something to just be broadcast.
Right.
For
especially
clarity,
their lady
for
part.
people who don't understand the mention of Greek life or like the alpha omega roommate situations, is that there's a certain amount of juice that comes with
I don't know where this is going. I don't know if I want to.
What I'm saying is that it's an abundance. Like when he says that we cross in the same time, is that like
it was hoes just flowing and running in and out.
But
you know what?
That's the assumption being made.
I understand.
For the children, there were hoes trying to run in and out. trying.
I have a similar experience. Like that's real.
I understand guys sitting around talking. Guys gonna be guys. I'm sorry, especially if girls running in and out. But if it's like like
someone's serious,
then they keep it to themselves. And we have this commitment.
Yeah, but if it's just a little fling, it's just kind of like, bruh,
whatever. Yeah. Because she gonna do the same thing about you. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, I will say this: when it wasn't as that serious, I feel like I won. What? Because of the chatty patties that women.
I like that for him. The chatty patties.
Because girls.
That is like that is big. That is
your next.
That is a business
woman.
Card. She has just become your business card.
Exactly. So see how that shit could backfire if that's your dude and you actually want your claws in here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you do things just for performance points because you know the
well, see, and the thing
is, it will be passed out.
No, and see, this is another reason. That's true, but this is another reason why you don't talk. Just because your past is your past. What you did in your past is just kind of like you might have some skeletons in your closet. You don't want that to come back in the future when you do find your husband or your wife, and then they got to know like your wife or your husband used to be a freak. That's an issue because sometimes
they already know.
Nah, but sometimes people look at just like.
Well, see, with my last chick, she had like, of course, like a past that preceded her, and of a lot of different situations. But for the most part, me and the homies, it was just kind of like, oh, did y'all do that? It's like, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move to the next one because we run out of time. The next one is exactly how Maya mentioned. If your friends, what is it? The things that your friends should know. How much your partner makes. True?
No, I think
Agree
it's
to
rude.
disagree.
And you know what? I don't know when that fell off, but I think it's rude to ask somebody how much they make. And I don't know if that's an age thing, but I get that question and I'll be like, bruh, like, why are you
But just
asking
imagine
me this?
somebody asking you how much your
I know,
boyfriend
I think
makes.
I think that's off limits. Well, okay, you can ask. Some people might tell they don't care. Mm-hmm. But if they say, I'd rather not, then you definitely shouldn't be. People need to understand that that's normally not the most polite question to ask. So if someone refuses to answer, you definitely need to respect that. Because that's not a normal question. I think people forget that at this age. I don't know.
I know two different perspectives because I have a friend who's like dating seriously and, they're pretty open when it comes to their money. I want to say that they even share money, which is like, like you said, to his own. I'm not with that because I also know another thing. This guy actually, I don't even know why he said that. It's public knowledge whenever you're a professional athlete, but he was engaged and he was saying like to this day she really has no idea
how much he makes,
how much money I make.
I think, and my mom,
how much money that I have because he's been in the league for some time. So he's like, I've been saving up and doing things. So he's like. She doesn't see my check. She doesn't see my bank account. And they were engaged to be married.
Oh, no, I'm talking about friends.
Well, no, I agree. My mom always told me, even in a relationship, your partner probably should not know how much you really make. No. I kind of agree with that. I don't think your partner should know every penny that you make. That could be a blessing and a curse to me in the future. I don't know. I have to grow up to find out. But... I don't know. And that may be advice I run with or leave it. But, Branson, you're married. Does your wife know every penny that you make?
Oh, she knows down to the dollar. And I say because I think it's a single and married mindset. But at the same time, there are different mindsets within marriage. There are people that have their own money. And I can say that was a big discussion for us.
Right.
Simply because we had two different points of view. And... when Jared said handle my woman, I said yes to that for the simple fact that we have gone away from the traditional a man takes charge in a household. Right now I'm running my household. But that is I believe in the theory that God has called me to be the priest of my household. That I'm the one that leads my household and does different things spiritually but as well within this realm of this world. So when we talk about money, it's one house. Yeah, I'm leading it and I'm doing things, but it's one house. And when we're working towards the same goal, then
he's laughing. Every time Branson beats on the table, we hear the echo in the headphones. That's what Jared is.
Why did you just say that, man? But I think there's nothing wrong with your spouse knowing. She knew how much I made before we got married. Now, not down to the dollar to say she knew what was in my bank account and this and that, but she had an idea of how much I got paid for what I do for work. I mean, it wasn't as though I was just dipping away for 8 hours a day and she didn't know where I was going.
Yeah.
So,
question about that, like before y'all got married, is it like do some people look at that as like a thing? Like, hey, look, you don't make enough money for us to be married.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
As we get older, yes, that's an issue.
How much you make is a direct reflection on the kind of life I'm going to have.
Exactly.
So my question is, whenever you're talking to, like, of course, like, I have some friends who will say like how much they make to me, and I don't think we really talk about money. It's almost like, are you able to do these things that we have planned? And if you can't do these things that we have planned, let's find something else, or I got you. So I mean, we don't really talk about how much we make. Like, I have a friend who makes some good money, but we never say like, hey man, how much you make? It's just like, hey,
we just know.
Are you able to do this or you're not?
Yeah, something
but
you
like,
just know.
But when you're with your woman or something like that, when you're talking about marriage, is that a time to like take the veil off? Like, hey, look, or like when we're talking about marriage, like just to talk.
That's something I have to learn.
We're serious. We're 3 years in. I'm like, hey, look, I'm thinking about marrying you next year. And, you know, we get down to the conversation. It's like, okay, how much do you plan on making?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes, that's one of those things you should put on the table. Another lesson I've learned being older, like, no, we need to talk about credit scores. We need to talk about 401ks. We need to talk about retirement. We need to talk about all of this shit. And I don't understand how people can go into a marriage, like, if, not even, let's say you're not giving, this is your partner. Y'all made a commitment. We in this thing, so death do us part.
Exactly.
Why would I not know how much we have in our joint bank account where your paycheck is being deposited every other Friday? Why would I not? You know what I'm saying? Like, because we gotta. How can we really take?
I gotta learn how to deal with that.
How can we really take on the world? The two of us together, right? Like, how can we take it on if we? I don't know what tools in my tool belt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I want to be taken care of. I want to be well taken care of. So I need to know how much I can spend on what I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just need to know these things. Maybe that's me.
Know a budget.
I need a budget.
So I would say that because my parents are a little different. Like, I don't think my parents handle this stuff the same way.
Mine don't either. And that's why I'm on the whole, like, I'll give you a room park of how much I make as a woman, but I won't tell you the exact dollar.
I don't mean like that. Like, I think my parents know exactly how much each other are making.
Oh, okay.
But when it comes to, like you said, like a joint account, I think they've got over to a point to where, like, look, you have your money, as long as the house is taken care of first, we're good. Like, hey, my mom, she may have responsibility for X, Y, and Z. My dad covers X, Y, and Z. And that's good. Like, as long as that's happening. And then even if someone is short, like, we're together. So it's like, I got you. You don't have to pay me back, but I got you. But it's almost like an understanding of, like, you're responsible for this, and that's just that. Like, you don't owe me anything if you come up short. But, like, being that we're together, I would hope that you would just handle your responsibilities without saying, like, hey,
agree.
I'm short again. And then if it gets to a point to where you have nothing, I got you. Because we're together. But I think they just work. They work well with that, because I know some people. I know another couple who's been married for 30 years who this woman gives her husband a budget. Like, he's a breadwinner, but he's like, I'm not good with money. So his wife is like great with money. She budgets him like, hey, look, this is yours to spend. Do what you want to do with it. I don't care. We paid the bills. Have fun.
Good point. Good point. We could talk about this all day. We can, and I wish we could. But we are getting down to our last little couple of minutes. And this has been fun. I'm just going to give you guys the last three that they said. The last three was every stupid spat you have, which was basically our conversation for today. Your friends shouldn't know about your partner's life history, and your friends basically shouldn't know about the private correspondence between you and your significant other. So, like, text messages, voicemails, things like that. Totally agree. Any last thoughts or anything before we wrap up? No, we're good.
Hey,
marriage is a beautiful thing. Aspire to it.
There you go.
Yes, man.
There you go. There you go. I want to thank you all, everybody who came in and is listening to this episode of the Chat Room. Listen to me every Monday at 8 p.m. right after Ratchet TV at hmsnetradio.org. Make sure you guys follow the Chat Room on Instagram and Twitter just to stay updated on the topics we discuss and other cool things. And see you next week.
There's a lot of folks try to get with them players, but you all know they can't get with this flavor. We kept it straight from the A-Town, we're making the real come up. Ain't no way we gon' stay down. People try to down the ATP, but you know what's up, well you know what it be. Ain't no way they can hold us back. But Iceberg on the Mr. Bonet on the track. We got the bass dropping and the throat crunk up, so you know what's up. It's time to bring the booty on, and I'm checking for Shawty because you know she got it going on. What's up to the big money makers? No shouts out to them other player haters. Lil Red and the boys from the South. What's up? We can't cut it out.